Hey everybody, what's going on? It's the end of the week and welcome into our latest TDR Weekly Recap presented by Dutchie. I am your host, Shad Dales. A very, very busy week for the sector when you look back at it. Some of the first things to highlight was a major federal cannabis reform bill where it's gaining new momentum out of Virginia, while a bipartisan group of state attorney generals are pushing Congress to rewrite the Farm Bill. We'll also look at Pennsylvania's hemp and vape boom, not in a good way, and Ohio's stalled legalization rollout, and some big corporate updates from Verano, Vireo, MariMed, and High Tide, as Verano actually announced their latest earnings earlier this week. So let's get started into our latest TDR Weekly Recap presented by Dutchie. All right, let's begin in Virginia, where Representative Jennifer McClellan, a Democrat for Virginia, has officially signed on as the 58th co-sponsor of the Marijuana Opportunity Reinvestment and Expungement Act, better known as the MORE Act. McClellan is the first member of Congress from Virginia to endorse the sweeping federal reform bill. So if enacted, and this is a big if, the MORE Act would remove marijuana from the Federal Controlled Substances Act, ending national prohibition and allowing states to set their own cannabis policies. This thing's been dancing back and forth for quite some time, but it's good to see some more support. It would also include a major restorative justice measure like expungement of past convictions, resentencing provisions, and a new federal excise tax on cannabis sales. Revenue from that tax would then fund community reinvestment programs, including job training, youth services, and re-entry initiatives for people impacted by the war on drugs. Also important to highlight too that the legislation would prevent marijuana convictions from being used to deny housing, loans, or federal benefits, and for the first time would give cannabis businesses access to small business administration programs. So we know the MORE Act has passed the House twice before, but it has never cleared the Senate. This time it faces an uphill battle in a divided Congress. So not sure much weight is behind this. But still, McClellan's endorsement, it does add momentum, even though Republican support remains absent, and it signals steady progress for reform in Capitol Hill. So, yeah, we continue to have the conversations, but we've heard this for quite a few years. Let's just get something done already. Next, we turn to the brewing hemp war in Washington. A bipartisan coalition of 39 state and territorial attorneys general is urging Congress to fix what they call a grievously mistaken interpretation of the 2018 Farm Bill, one that legalized hemp, but in their view, accidentally unleashed a national market of intoxicating hemp products. The coalition itself is led by Arkansas Attorney General Tim Griffin, Connecticut Attorney General William Tong, Indiana Attorney General Todd Rokita, and Minnesota Attorney General Keith Ellison. So what was involved in their letter? Well, their letter includes calls for a rewrite of the hemp definition to leave no doubt that products containing intoxicating levels of THC of any kind and no matter how derived are illegal. They argue that state-level bans have created a patchwork of laws that can't contain the flood of mail-order hemp intoxicants across state lines. But here's where it gets interesting. The hemp industry leaders, they see it differently. Of course they do. They warn that a full federal ban would wipe out a $28.4 billion hemp economy overnight, and instead are pushing for age gating, testing, and labeling standards rather than prohibition. And they have a point. Meanwhile, the divide in Kentucky, it highlights just how complicated the issue is. Senator Mitch McConnell, who's really behind all this, the original architect of hemp legalization, he now supports banning all THC-containing hemp consumables. This guy needs to retire already. Senator Rand Paul is also fighting back with his own hemp act, which would triple an allowable THC threshold and establish national testing and labeling standards. Okay, we got something here. We've talked about this before with him. Paul also said he's ready to block any spending bill that includes a hemp ban, even if it means extending the government shutdown. So how serious are they taking this? Well, you can see, real serious. So the bottom line here, if you have a lot of questions, is this. The Farm Bill, the rewrite is shaping up to be the most consequential cannabis policy debate since 2018, and the future of hemp-derived THC, it may hang in balance. Again, we need changes, but an outright prohibition for hemp, it does not make sense whatsoever, regardless of what side of the aisle you're cheering for. Now let's head to PA, where vape shops, they've exploded across the state. We've known this, but the numbers that have come out of here are mind-blowing. Senator Dan Laughlin, a Republican from Erie, says what started as a novelty storefront has become a full-blown industry operating in a gray market. Many shops, he warns, are selling unregulated hemp products with no testing, no age limits, and no labeling standards, something that was never intended currently under the Farm Bill, which we all know. The biggest loophole is THCA, as we know, a compound that's technically non-psychoactive until heated, at which point it turns into THC. Furthermore, by concentrating THC extracted from hemp, manufacturers can then sell products that look compliant but act like full strength cannabis, and it's not. So to fix it, Laughlin is sponsoring what's called Senate Bill 49, which would move oversight of Pennsylvania's medical marijuana program from the Department of Health to a new cannabis control board. That board would then set unified safety standards for all cannabis and hemp products, including testing, packaging, and age verification. And that would then give regulators the flexibility to adjust rules quickly instead of waiting for new laws. This makes complete sense. Laughlin says it's not about adult use legalization yet, it's about cleaning up the system we already have. So really it looks like PA is building this market from the ground up to make sure it's long, sustainable, and successful in the event adult use passes. Job well done if this indeed does pass, and if this board indeed will have the oversight and the law to implement what's legal and what's not. This is what all states should have right now. All right, let's now head to Ohio, where legalization politics, they remain tangled. The Ohio Senate voted 32-0 to reject House amendments to Senate Bill 56, setting up a potential conference committee showdown over how to align the state's voter-approved legalization measure with lawmakers' preferred framework. The core fight, ready for this, everyone? It's hemp regulation again. You see a common theme here? Senator Shane Wilkin, he's a Republican. He blasted the House's version for leaving synthetic THC loopholes and giving retailers 300 days of grace to keep gray market products off shelves. Get them out of here. Senate President Roger McClellan said the House plan left too many loopholes, and Democrats called it a missed opportunity for real regulation. Again, another bipartisan support here in another state. With both chambers gridlocked, a conference committee is next, meaning further delay for Ohio's legal rollout. And yet, while lawmakers stall, businesses, they obviously can't wait around for what's going to happen next. So what am I referring to? Well, the Cannabist Company Holdings, which trades on the CBOE CBO, Canada and American Exchange under the ticker symbol CBST. They just opened its 7th Ohio dispensary and first in Belmont County, serving both medical and adult use customers. This is located in St. Clairsville. The newest store will expand the cannabis's Midwestern retail grid and connects directly to its 75,000 square foot cultivation and manufacturing facility that supplies both the retail and wholesale partners statewide. Their CEO, David Hart, says the store reflects the company's education-first, approachable retail model and strengthens its position ahead of Ohio's accelerating adult use rollout. Yeah, it is accelerating, but still a lot of bumpiness along the way. Now let's head to New York State, where MariMed Incorporated, which trades on the CSE under the ticker symbol MRMD, is making a strategic entrance into the Empire State. Here's the news. The company signed a licensing deal with Farm to Hand LLC, a New York cannabis license holder, to produce and distribute MariMed's top-selling edibles like Betty's Eddies, Bubby's Baked, and in-house gummies. Production will happen in a new Bronx kitchen built and equipped by MariMed itself. Their CEO, John Levine, he calls New York a cornerstone market that not only for its $6 billion total addressable size, but also for its influence on national brand visibility. So based off this news, MariMed then plans to launch in 2026 once the facility and state approvals are complete, joining its operations in Maryland, Massachusetts, Illinois, and Delaware. So this is an interesting story here because we know MariMed has some of the best brands in the entire industry, and now going into New York, it's the turnaround story in the Empire State. It continues. Right now, currently 500 dispensaries now active in New York. We had this delayed adult use market, but now it feels like it's scaling up. And MariMed, they clearly want in early. So we'll see how this develops going into 2026. All right, keeping things on the corporate side, and some big news this week involving Verano and Vireo Growth Incorporated, how they've ended their long-running legal debate. This is good. The two companies, they reached a $10 million settlement, with Vireo receiving select real estate assets plus $1 million in cash. So both boards unanimously approved this deal, especially when you consider what the original damages were estimated as. So for Verano, it clears contingent liabilities, and for Vireo, it injects capital into the balance sheet at a time when liquidity remains tight. So big win, I would say, for both companies. And that also ties directly into our next topic, which is Verano's latest earnings. They reported earlier this week, Q3 2025, $203 million in revenue, flat quarter over quarter, but down 6% year over year. Gross profit came in at $95 million for a 47% margin, while SG&A expenses dropped 12% to $81 million. Despite operational improvements, the company still posted, and this is an important too, a net loss of $44 million, which is impacted by impairment charges and the legal settlement costs. Adjusted EBITDA hit $53 million, operating cash flow $26 million, and capital spending fell sharply from $57 million to now $8 million. Verano now holds $83 million in cash, $401 million in total debt, and a new $75 million revolving credit facility that lowers stores borrowing costs, which they worked with Chicago Atlantic on that. Operationally, the company opened its 82nd Florida dispensary, expanding into Antwerp, Ohio, and launched its Hyphen vape platform. Their CEO, George Arcos, he called the quote-unquote a positioning phase for long-term growth, end quote, setting up for what he predicts could be a transformative 2026 for both Verano and really the overall U.S. cannabis market. We sure as heck hope so. I hope you're listening to this right now, President Trump. So that's it for this week's TDR Trade to Black weekly recap presented by Dutchie, the platform powering more than 6,500 stores across North America with point of sale, e-commerce payments, and loyalty tools all in one compliant system. If you want to learn more, visit business.dutchie.com to see how Dutchie can help build your dispensary in business today. Also, don't forget to like, subscribe, and smash on that bell for all notifications. And if you want to stay up to date each day on the latest news revolving the cannabis industry on the business and reform side, scan this QR code and become a baked-in newsletter subscriber. It's delivered to your inbox weekdays Monday through Friday at 8 a.m. Eastern Time, giving you all the latest information. It really is this weekly recap, but you're updated each day. So again, scan this QR code and become baked-in newsletter subscriber today. All right, everybody, big week coming up as we've got a lot of companies reporting earnings this week, so make sure you stay connected. In the meantime, enjoy yourself, enjoy your weekend, and I'll see you in the next video. I'm your host, Shad Dales, and thanks again for watching.